Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Fink, and I help manage the Google side of things for our adult education programs here at Eastern Suffolk BOCES. Over the last few years, Google has become an integral part of our programs for adult education. Our Google domain, which is our adultedli.org domain, includes Google Drive, Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, and Gmail. Each of our students in the program has an account as well as all of our staff members. I wanted to take some time today to just talk about some things that we can do in order to ensure that our data and everything that we do with those accounts remains secure. One of the most important things to know about Google Workspace, or Google for Education as we call it in schools, is that all of the applications that we utilize when we log into our adultedli.org accounts are cloud-based applications. So cloud is a buzzword that kind of gets thrown around a lot when we talk about technology. We know it's big, we know it's impactful, but we don't hear a lot about exactly what it is or how it works. So anytime we hear the word cloud, you can really just kind of put the word internet in there to substitute it. So if you hear cloud storage, it's really internet storage. Or cloud computing is really just computing that takes place on the internet. So all of us know that the internet has tremendous value, right? If you're somebody like me, you probably use the internet 5 or 6 times before you even get out of bed in the morning. And for schools and for our students, they have access to pretty much all of the information in the world anytime they sit down at an internet-connected device. But we also probably all know that the internet isn't exactly the safest play around. And that's what makes it really important when using cloud technologies, that we have systems in place to protect the data of our students. So the important thing to realize here is that the cloud really is just someone else's computer. When you are uploading something to the cloud or putting something in your Google Drive, you are putting it on the internet. And this is really what's happening here. So there are these large facilities, these like Costco-sized warehouses that have these servers that are only made for storing data. And that's what happens to our student data when we ask them to save something to their Google Drives. So there's tremendous value in this. You know, it used to be that the best way to save a file was to the workstation that you utilized on a daily basis. But the internet is now substantially faster than it was before. So some of the advantages that the cloud gives us is flexibility. You know, our students don't have to just walk into class with files or with their own computers. They can sit down at any Chromebook that they want and log into their accounts, and all of their files follow them. It doesn't really even matter what device they use anymore. They can use phones, they can use Chromebooks, they can use all these things to get to their files. The downside, however, is if you put something online, if you put something up to the cloud, it's best from an IT security perspective to just assume that you've lost control of it. So it's always this question of how available do you want something versus how secure do you want it to be. Because again, it's best practice to assume that if we put something to the cloud, to Google Drive, somebody who we don't want to see it could get to it if they want to get to that information badly enough. I'm sure it also won't come as a surprise to anyone in this room that schools are unfortunately a prime target for cyber criminals. Over the last decade, we've seen a huge increase in the number of successful attacks orchestrated against educational institutions by people looking to kind of take advantage of the amount of resources that are provided to public institutions, both schools and hospitals, police organizations, really any organization where money isn't the mission statement. So to react to that and react to those threats, schools and all these types of institutions have done a lot of work to try to harden our networks and train our staff to make sure that we can all identify phishing attacks and stop ransom attacks from occurring and all those things. And our efforts have been successful, and we've really done a good job at Eastern Suffolk BOCES and a lot of different educational institutions in kind of making sure that we're not an easy target for cyber criminals. Unfortunately, kind of the way things have turned on the bad actor side of things is there's been a big increase over the last year in attacks specifically targeting student Google accounts that exist within educational institutions worldwide. And hackers have had a lot of success in getting really high value data and information from Google domains just by getting into student accounts and making, searching kind of what's there and finding kind of soft targets to take out of the domain and then using that information to kind of blackmail staff members and students within the schools. So this uptick in attacks against students has really left educational institutions kind of scrambling to figure out, what we can do to protect student accounts while still giving them access to the Google accounts that we've become so heavily reliant on, and which really are, very important for students as they learn to navigate the internet and, learn how to identify quality information and all the things that we want to teach them. I think one of the first steps for me is just talking about what personally identifiable information is and how having even basic information like a first and last name at an educational institution can be damaging to students. So I think classically, when we think about kind of high value information that we don't want hackers and bad actors to have, we think about things like credit card numbers and social security numbers and driver's licenses, which of course are, really bad things that we don't want people to have. But even a little bit of information can be used in a phishing attack to help impersonate somebody that can try to collect more information about you. So the example I always use when I talk about the types of phishing attacks that I see, directed against me or people trying to get more information from me is people calling me asking if I, want to put solar panels on my house or if I qualify to get solar panels on my house. There aren't just giant warehouses full of solar panels sitting around, unfortunately. And there aren't people like coming looking to try to put solar panels on your house for free. More than likely, what they're doing is they're trying to get more information about you, so the next time they contact you, they've got enough information to successfully launch an attack. So I'll give you an example. If I was to call you and say, hey, I would like to see if you qualify for free solar panels. I just need to know, when the last time you got your roof done was and who did it. And you ended up telling me, I got my roof redone in 2018 by, New Tech Roofing. The next time I contact you, I could say, hi, this is Mike Fink. I'm from New Tech Roofing. We had an issue with some of the materials that we used when we redid your roof in 2018. I need to just check against your statement that we gave you. And the proposal that we gave you when we redid your roof back then. If you were to give them that, then they could have a whole bunch of information about you, including, your full address, including, possibly a few digits of your credit card number, all different types of information about your house. So again, when they contact you the next time, they could get more and more information until they were able to successfully convince you to click a link that either locked out your information or installed some sort of keylogger on your computer so that they were recording everything you were typing. And so if you think about it now, for our students, the danger would be someone calling them and impersonating us, right? So if I knew, a student's name, what program for adult education they were in, or just that they were going to Eastern Suffolk BOCES, and maybe even the name of a teacher, if I had access to their Google Classroom, I could call them and pretend to be, somebody from Eastern Suffolk BOCES and try to get information from them about, what courses they're in, about, billing information, about their address, all these types of things. And all it would take for me to be able to do that and probably have a lot of success with it is the name of the student and the classes that they're in. So what can we do? The first thing I really want to stress is that this is not an Eastern Suffolk BOCES problem, or rather a problem unique to Eastern Suffolk BOCES. This is an issue that, again, all educational institutions kind of across the country and across the globe are now wrestling with here as we try to figure out the right balance between security and availability for our students. One of the first things that we've done is we've disabled external email for a great deal of our students. So we really only want to give external email to students when they absolutely need it. So if you are looking to have students receive emails from someone other than Eastern Suffolk BOCES, it's going to have to be a conversation, with the IT department and also with the program administrators to make sure that risk of opening up external email, to opening our students up to the possibility of a phishing attack from an external source is worth it. Sometimes it will be, and sometimes it won't. And those are just conversations we're going to need to have moving forward if there ever is a need to explore turning on external emails for some of our students. We're going to be using much stronger passwords on student accounts moving forward. So in the past, we've used some generic passwords for student accounts. The issue is that if our students don't log in with those passwords and get prompted to change them, those passwords just kind of sit until the accounts are deactivated. So we're not going to be doing that any longer for the Adult Ed LI domain. What we're going to be doing instead is when student accounts are created, unique accounts for each of those students are going to be generated, and those are going to be put on a spreadsheet that's going to be shared with program administrators. When students log in using that one-time unique password, they are then going to be prompted to create a password of their own. So I know this becomes more challenging for our teachers who in the past have done things like tried to create, one kind of generic account for all the students in their class to help them log in easily. That's not the type of practice that we can do anymore because of the risk that it poses. If we're using one email and it's something like Eastern Suffolk BOCES 1, Eastern Suffolk BOCES 2 as the email password for all of your students, it becomes very easy for data to get leaked or get taken. Another thing we're going to have to do is disable student accounts when they leave the program. So the way this is set up is that if somebody doesn't log into their account for 6 months, their account's going to be suspended. And if they don't log in for 12 months, their account is going to be deleted. It also would be very helpful if when students are leaving the program, I get notified so I can just deactivate the accounts kind of in real time as that's happening. A big one that we're going to need all of our staff to kind of focus on here is sharing settings. So sharing settings in Google look like this. So for every file, every sheet, every slideshow, anything you put into your Google Drive, there's some settings for how we can share them. And based on how you configure these settings, you're going to make things either more secure or more available. So specific people is the most secure one. This is the one we really want to be using. So certainly anything with PII in it, we want it to be visible to only specific people, only the people we want to have it. So anytime you've got a list of students in a document, in a sheet, anything like that, you want to just plug the specific people in. Anytime you use one of these, anyone with link or public on the web, you're opening us up to trouble and yourself up to trouble here. And this is the way that hackers who got some student information and were able to access a student account, they were able to get in California information about student IEPs just from logging in with a student account and then searching docs and sheets that didn't have secure sharing settings on them. So again, very important that you lock down the sharing settings of your documents as much as you possibly can, especially when it includes student information. So the last thing to talk about is the importance of using multi-factor authentication in securing data and securing accounts. So multi-factor authentication is something all of us are already using. We utilize it at BOCES for our esboces.org accounts, and if any of us do online banking, we utilize it there too. So multi-factor kind of takes away the vulnerabilities of having just a password on an account protecting data. So when you think about authenticating to gain access to anything, it doesn't need to be related to technology. It's almost always either something you have, something you know, or something you are. So if you think about like getting access to your house key is something you have. That is how you are authenticating to get into your house. And when you log into something, you're utilizing something you know. We don't often utilize something you are, that's like fingerprint, retinal scan. It's almost always a combination of something you know, a password, and something you have, like a phone or a dongle, that gives us the multi-factor authentication that we utilize in banks and in educational institutions and our work accounts. So just to kind of explain that a little bit more. So essentially there's, unfortunately, a lot of data breaches that go on, or just kind of like weak passwords, things like that. If somebody gets your password and they try to log into your account, but they don't have your phone, they're unable to do that. So it's a big layer of protection that stops passwords from being the only way we can get into people's accounts. So that's really all I have to share with you today. I appreciate the opportunity to share some of this information with you so we can work together to try and safeguard the information that our students have on this platform. Again, the Google accounts have tremendous value. I think it's a great thing for our students. It allows us to use things with them like Chromebooks and show them how to get to a lot of different resources that are going to help them in their lives. But we do need to work together to try to figure out the best way to keep this stuff secure. If you ever have any questions about anything that I talked about today, or you need any help with the Google accounts, please feel free to reach out to me at mifink@esboces.org. Thanks, everybody, and I hope you have a great day.